Linda?
Yes?
Is there any history of audio anomalies in the Thomas Riddell Archive collection room?
Well, it's down in the back there, you know, where the elderly lady hangs about. We've usually, oh yeah. She's been talked about by a number of sensitives that have come in here over the years. And when I say that even they could just be visitors. Okay. You know, it's not anyone we've brought in. They're just visitors.
Holly?
Yeah.
Do you have those 4
Oh, God!
What?
What was that?
I don't know. What? You gave me a hot flash. What?
Oh my God. I'm pretty sure someone left their walkie on the table, and that is what just went off. Because I just heard somebody yell, and then I yelled. Oh, okay. Did someone just use the walkie? Does anyone know?
I don't think so.
Huh? That's his fucking walkie. Oh my God! Who else has walkies? Linda?
Yes.
And Kim.
Kim wouldn't use it because I was just talking with her.
Somebody either just used their walkie or something in here just yelled at us.
Hey, Paul!
Did anyone just use their walkie?
Negatory, as you would say. Nobody used the walkies at all. I was talking to Linda about, I won't call it an anomaly, but something on our CCTV. For the first time in the entire evening, one of the screens lit up as blue. Just, she didn't touch anything, so she called me in to ask me, why is it broken or something? And I said, no, I don't know. It turns out it was the screen for this room, so fine. And then I heard Dylan yell, Paul, you know, something, and I assumed you wanted to shoot something, so here we are shooting. So
okay,
what happened?
So I, sitting in here, invited whatever was in the room to come sit with me. Paul, you eventually ended up coming in, and you ended up sitting down. We got a spike of temperature.
Oh, well, a negative spike, because it got like
it
frosty.
Flashed negative, that you said you were cold, and then I said, okay.
That's my thing.
I actually invited something to come sit with me. Blah, blah, blah. Left, told it to come, if it wanted to come and sit down, came back, and when I came in here, I walked over here and I heard a voice yell. I may have screamed. Chelsea may have also screamed. And then I realized that your walkie was there, and I thought it was your walkie that went off. But when I was testing to see if I thought it was the walkie, when I call through on this, because I set the ED up beside it, it spikes with an EMF flash, which is totally normal. I didn't see that flash when I heard the voice. So that tells me it was not the walkie.
What did the voice say? Do you know?
Well, it was intermingled with my scream because it startled the shit out of me.
That happens. Good. It's fine. It's glad it's finally happened to you. It's happened to me more than once.
Straight up. It was loud. It was not, it was loud.
Dealing with might have taken a very personal interest in us.
So I took all the audio from Holly's audio recorder from Queens County Museum, and I was just kind of playing around with it because, you know, we all heard something, so I wanted to hear what it sounded like, kind of slowed down in reverse, and just kind of play with this every angle that I could. It's not the walkie-talkie, because later on in this clip, we have you testing the walkie-talkie. There's a beep to the walkie-talkie when you use it, and there's also a digital noise to there's static when you use a walkie-talkie. I've gone through where everybody is, I've checked the cameras, I've checked kind of everybody's story. The voice we've heard, because we've listened to the original unedited track before, and it's a very loud and quick, constant kind of noise. So I'm gonna let you listen to this and see what you think. Did you hear what I heard at the end when you start inhaling?
Play it again, Sam.
Okay, ready?
No. Yeah.
Try and listen past your own voice, though.
And my voice is the...
You're the...
yeah.
You're the inhale.
Yeah.
Listen below it.
Yeah. Go.
So did you hear anything?
Yep, it's my name.
Hi there, everybody. My name is Paul Kimball. I've only got 30 to 45 minutes, Ryan tells me, so I'm just going to skip all the introductions. But here's the Cold's notes. This is a presentation for the Anomicon. Thank you, Ryan Sprague, for organizing it, and thank you for inviting me. I was happy to participate. And the name of the presentation is The Ghost Coast. Ooh, the woo-woo part, it's kind of a sound effect I'm adding in for you guys. It's between you and me. And, Tales of Hauntings from Canada's Maritime provinces, where the Maritime provinces go up to Maine in the United States, turn right, head out across the Atlantic Ocean, and eventually you'll hit New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, which is where my lovely wife is from, and Nova Scotia, which is where I'm from. So that's kind of where we are, but lots and lots and lots of history, lots of mystery, as we like to say, and lots of ghost stories, lots of haunted buildings. There's a town in Nova Scotia called Lunenburg. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. You might have seen it in any one of a number of television productions or films that would air or screen in the United States and around the world. It is literally the entire town. The entire town is haunted. Like every building, if you go there, everyone will tell you it is haunted. Hi, can we come investigate your house? Yes, it's haunted. Oh, wait, I'm finally getting around. Ryan, I am probably going to go overtime, my friend. Probably going overtime. So, the purpose of this talk, though, is I've done a lot of stuff in film and television, documentaries, television shows, 4 feature films, multi-award winning, I might add. And what really I enjoy doing most is a television series called Haunted here in the Maritimes. And what we do is it's a team of us for a television network up here called Eastlink Community Television. I do believe the first season is available online somewhere, but we'll get future seasons up for you folks. We have spent 10 seasons, 13 episodes a season, going around the Maritime provinces, investigating museums and forts, and I was going to say castles, but forts, old historic sites, people's homes, decommissioned department stores. I don't know if you can decommission a department store, but they're out of business, so now it's something else. Churches, we've been in old churches, we've been everywhere. Cemeteries, all sorts, like very, very old cemeteries. And so we do 13 episodes a season, and we have all sorts of fun. My colleagues and I've worked with a lot of people on the team over the years. Holly Stevens has been there from the beginning. You might even remember Holly and I, maybe you, Bob, Sue, from, John, you remember us too, from a television series we did about 15 years ago called Ghost Cases. Only ran for 1 season, but it was the same principle. Holly and I would go around and investigate stories of hauntings or places that are haunted. So that's what we do now. We just have a more expanded team and frankly, bigger budget. And we have investigators. Started out just me and Holly, and then eventually the entire crew got sucked in. So Dylan Garland was just there as our director of photography. And I don't mean to diminish the role of the director of photography, very important, but he wasn't meant to be on camera. And within 2 episodes, he got sucked into the milieu that is haunted. You can't go on one of these shows without having things happen to you. So basically everyone who's ever worked on Haunted has had their moment. But the team has generally been me and Holly. Dylan was there for 5 seasons. There were others. Kim Moser was there for sort of the following 5 seasons. People have come in and out. The current team is comprised of Holly and myself and an old friend of mine, Jacob James, and Amy Murphy, who is also an old friend of mine. So we're kind of the foursome. But what you're going to see here in this presentation, which I am finally getting around to, is me talking about some of what I consider, I don't want to say the most scary things that happened, because not all of them did I find scary at the time, but the things that I find the most interesting, some of which are definitely scary. You're about to see one of those up first, and I will make no bones about it. It's scary. I will also make no bones, and I add this as a disclaimer for those of you that are easily shocked. I'm a coward. I am a chicken bleep. Totally chicken. So when weird, bad, spooky, scary things happen, I run. Generally speaking, I run. A little less than I used to, but yeah, I still run quite a bit. The other thing, too, that you should know, because it might come up here a bit, is I'm a bit of a troublemaker. So I believe if you're going to do a ghost show or anything, frankly, if you're going to go look for UFOs or whatever, well, go look for them. And if they're not there, see if you can make it happen. Open yourself up to a paranormal experience or supernatural experience, or frankly, for religious folks, a spiritual experience. Like, just put it out there in the universe. Hey, I'm here. I've bought a ticket to this movie theater. Well, no, actually, the analogy would go, hey, I'm here standing outside the movie theater, and the only way I can get in to see the new crappy Star Wars film, Rise of Skywalker 5, I'm sure it's coming at some point, is to buy a ticket and go into the theater. So I believe in buying a ticket. And yes, if you're doing a ghost hunting show, you kind of bought a ticket, or somebody's bought it for you. But you can't just stand there and go, is there a ghost here? Is your name Sarah? Is your name John? And I mean literally run through the alphabet. I've met ghost hunters ghost investigators who do that. We don't hunt ghosts. Frankly, it would be unfair. No thanks. We investigate. We try and make contact. And so occasionally I go ghost rogue. Holly refers to it as going ghost rogue. Others have referred to it as other things that might involve 4-letter words. But, I don't know if I have supernatural powers, but I like to pretend I do. And part of it is, I think we maybe all have it. If there's anything to this, we all have supernatural powers. And the supernatural power is you could just sit there and go, hi, I'm sitting in this allegedly haunted place. You probably leave that part out. Hi, I'm sitting here. And if there is a spirit or a ghost or an entity here, I would like to make contact with you. Please feel free to make contact with me in a safe, non-harmful way using one of these devices. And we use a whole bunch of tech, REM pods and ghost boxes and EMF meters and all that. But whatever you got, knock a painting off the wall, anything, do it. Now that's the generic way of doing it. I do things like, hey, ghosts, if you're here, boom, I'm opening a portal. Come on through. And by the way, not just every ghost in this house, every ghost in the entire town. And I've been in places where I literally open it up to entire towns and say, come on down. It's a ghost party at fill in the blank of the location. So, yeah, some of what you're about to see may or may not have been caused by me going ghost rogue. The other thing you need to know, because this will pop up towards the end, I don't watch other ghost shows. Never have. Before I started doing this, I had no interest in ghost shows. The only reason I did it, somebody offered me a gig. I needed a job back in 2008, and that's why I get into ghost cases. Now, it is true that I've always been interested in the paranormal, the spiritual, the supernatural. Often as an agnostic more than a believer. But, it comes honestly to me, I suppose, besides having an inquisitive nature. My family, my uncle was Stanton T. Friedman. So the first documentary I ever made was called Stanton T. Friedman is Real back in 2001. And it was basically a biography of Stan, who was very dear to me and pretty darn cool, too, at the family reunions. Hi, Uncle. I won't mention my other uncles' names. They were all lovely. But hi, Uncle Ed. How's it going? Well, the farm's doing fine. Oh, Uncle Bill, how are things with you? Well, the accounting practice is doing fine. Oh, Uncle Stan, what's new with you? Well, aliens from Zeta Reticuli have abducted so-and-so and the cosmic Watergate. I tended to spend more time hanging out with Stan. And we also had a mutual love of baseball, too. So we had a lot to bond over. So yeah, my grandfather, though, in that same family, not my mother's side, but my father's side, was a Reformed Baptist minister, an evangelical minister. So when I was younger, I would have chats with him, not about UFOs. I don't remember any of those. Might have been mind wiped by Stan, probably. But we would have chats about life after death. He would never proselytize or, Paul, you need to convince, you need to be saved. He was just, hey, sit down with his grandson who was in his teens at the time and just chat. What do you think? And I'd say, well, Granddad, what do you think? You're the one who's the minister. I don't know. I'm 15 years old. And he would say, well, look, here's what I believe. You don't have to believe it, but you should at least be open to it. So the people I've always been around, my parents, everybody, have always encouraged me to be open-minded. Not so open-minded as Stan would say that your mind falls out, but open-minded enough to consider the possibilities. So yeah, I was happy to take the gig for ghost cases, but I had a predisposition to be interested in the subject matter. And frankly, we all should, because what's more important, the one thing we all share. So, and Stan and I would talk about this within the context of the UFO phenomenon too. And that is, we are all gonna die. Sorry, spoiler alert, you're gonna die, you're gonna die, you're gonna die. I don't know who I'm pointing to here. I'm gonna die, we're all gonna die. Everybody's gonna die. It ends. The question is, does it? So that is the one thing all human beings share, sort of an existential wondering of what might come after this. Now, with space aliens and UFOs and everything else, we can wonder about that too, but we're still going to die. So space aliens show up tomorrow. Cool. Awesome. I guess, unless, they're like us when we landed here in North America. Not so awesome. But we're still going to die. And so you can answer all the space alien questions you want and talk about all that stuff you want. That's great. It's absolutely great. Been there, done it, bought the t-shirt. Still interested in it. But what happens after I die? That's what I really want to know. And I think somewhere deep down, we all do. Even people who think they believe. I think, a little bit of doubt doesn't hurt. I think even my grandfather had it from time to time. So does ghost investigating solve that question for me? No. But I went in as an absolute agnostic. I was the skeptic member of the team. And I still am a bit skeptical about individual instances. So I will always try and debunk something if I can. But I'm less skeptical about the overarching picture. So my conclusions, having done Haunted now for 10 seasons and 4 more to come, or got them renewed for 4 more seasons. Yay, good for us. It can allow me to pay the mortgage on the house here, is that there is something out there. Now, I don't know if we're dealing with other entities, and I don't have enough time in this presentation to get into it because I want to get into the exciting stuff where I run out of a room fleeing and like this, that kind of stuff. But the short colds or cliffs notes to it is, I do think there's something out there that interacts with us. And I thought that when I was sort of more into the UFO phenomenon than I am now. My old friend Mac Tonys and I used to have long conversations about it, as did Greg Bishop, Nick Redfern. We sort of, the paranormal rat pack, as I called us. None of them ever called us that, but it took on a life of its own around 2006 and 2007. Nick Redfern would be like, "Oh, you haven't seen Paul in 2 years." It's not like we hang out every day. That is totally not Nick's accent, by the way, although it could be. And so I just kind of, gravitated towards people that had that same idea that, I don't know, maybe it's space aliens, but maybe it's something else. Maybe it's, Mac would say he had his crypto-terrestrial thesis. I'm not even sure if Mac believed it. I just think he thought of it as a thought experiment. It was interesting to talk about. Other people would talk about ultra-dimensionals, whatever tag you want to put on it. It's an advanced, I always called it an advanced non-human intelligence that was interacting with us. And so I brought that kind of spin to ghost investigating. And so I never say, look, it's the spirit of Aunt Mabel or, my great-grandfather or this guy over here. It could be. And I look at that possibility. I also look at the possibility that there's something out there, maybe even freakier, that's interacting with us. So, or it could be both. So anyway, theoretical stuff, blah, blah. There's lots of other people here at the Anomicon, I know, who are going to be talking about those things in great depth. So I will let them do that. I will move on to showing you guys some cool stuff with one other caveat. Back to me never watching ghost shows. I still generally don't. Partly just professionally, I never really liked the way they were done. I also thought most of them were fake, or at least large parts of it were faked. I take great pride. I've never faked a single thing. If you see it on a show, it happened, and that's how it happened. And we leave it to other people to, determine what it might or might not have been. So skeptics, come on down and have at it. You can come up with your explanation. True believers, come on down and say it's a ghost. You can have your explanation. The excluded middle, as Greg Bishop would say, come on down and talk about, all facets of everything. That's the kind of ghost show that I've always wanted to do and that I do. So, yeah. But there's an exception, and it's Ghost Adventures. I have occasionally tuned into Ghost Adventures. I consider Zach Baggins my arch enemy. Zach Baggins doesn't know who I am. I'm pretty sure he's never heard of me. Cool. I like it that way. Keeps it like I'm in the know. Baggins doesn't know. But there will be a clip here coming up. I'll save that for the end, where I go mano y mano with Zach, or ghosto y ghosto with Zach Baggins. And I'm not kidding. And it doesn't end well for me. And I'll just leave it at that. But so the first one, we were in a house. When is he going to get to it? Right now. We were in a house in Yarmouth, Nova Scotia, which I think their motto is on the edge of everywhere, which is a pretty good motto for Yarmouth. So we went to this house. It was an Airbnb. It was an old sea captain's mansion. And we were just staying there while investigating another location about 40 minutes down the coast. And all sorts of weird stuff started to happen, including Dylan was in a room and he saw what he described as two bright red eyes and horns appearing in the glass partition in his shower. While he was lying in bed, he could see this and like, boop, boop, like that. Really, this was the beginning of his ghost adventures, and really it freaked him out. He did not sleep in the room. He slept down in the room we were using as an equipment room, which just had a couch on it. Funny story. The reason that sort of really resonated with everyone was because Holly was in the room right across the hallway from her, and she had seen just minutes before what she called as a shadowy figure in her room, which really freaked her out because the room was dark. But here's dark, and then we call it darker than dark. So Holly, who has a science background, she has a degree in biology. So this is how she phrased it. I wanted to conduct an experiment, and I wanted to see if the experiment, if it could be replicated, if Dylan across the hall would see something too. So she sent whatever it was. She said, please, if you're real, if there is something here, go across the hall and manifest yourself, make yourself clear to Dylan. So that's Holly's fault. Anyway, that's the background on the house. We came back and we investigated the house, stayed there too, but we came back purposefully about 1.5 years later to investigate it. Because remember, as I said, when that happened, that first instance with the spooky demon and the shadow person, we were just staying there. It was just an Airbnb. So yeah, it turns out it's one of the most haunted locations we've ever been to. We sort of jokingly called it the demon house because of the, but we really wrapped it up last season. We just finished shooting the 10th season several months ago, and I'm still in post-production on it. But I wanted to put a pin in this particular location. So I took the new team back. Dylan's no longer part of the team, but Holly is, and some new folks. And we brought a psychic in, a psychic medium, and we think we maybe had misunderstood the story before, and we kind of wrapped it up, I hope, to the point where, everything has an end, and it was sort of a trilogy. We did 3 episodes, or three times we went there. But the second time we went there, which is the time we went there purposefully to investigate, is the clip you're going to see now. I've finally gotten to it. Yay! Just too lazy to use the editing program. I'm like 20 minutes in or whatever. I haven't had to do any real work yet. So there was a really creepy attic, and these kind of and it contains a widow's, I think they call it a widow's peak or widow's walk, and where the wives of sea captains would go up. They're kind of standard in homes here in the East Coast. I'm sure they are in Maine and the American East as well, Massachusetts, where the wives of the sea captains and the seafarers who could afford to actually build one of these in their house would go up, and you have a really great view of the harbor, so you could see, hopefully, your husband's boat coming back in. Hey, everybody made it back safe, hopefully. So, yeah, we had gone up there, and you will see this attic at the end because it might have something to do with the fight ahead with Zach Baggins. I can't believe. Anyway, I'm just foreshadowing, folks. But we were doing a multi-night investigation, and before we got up into the attic to film that segment, Holly and I situated ourselves in the very narrow stairway that leads, there you go, up to the attic. And so there's 3 floors. Yeah, 3 floors in the house and a basement too. So the rest of the crew is down on the first floor in the equipment room, far away. Couldn't hear what we were saying. They could monitor us on the CCTV camera that we had set up though. So they could see us. And the sound guy could hear what we were saying, but the rest, but we couldn't hear them, and they couldn't hear, if they had taken the earphones off the sound guy, he couldn't have heard the somewhat intimate conversation that Holly and I were having because sound didn't travel that far. So, I'd just be talking to Holly. Hey, Holly, how's it going? Not too good. Not too bad, Paul. Maybe we should call it a ghost or something. Cool. And that's basically what we were doing. And Holly was being much more gentle. I don't know if gentle's the right word, but more friendly. I wasn't being unfriendly, but Holly's more like, we want to know your story. How can we help you? Et cetera, et cetera. And I'd be more like, hey, if you want to come down and make something happen, make something happen. And we could not see, like, Holly was sitting underneath me on a step underneath me. I'm up here, as you'll see in a second. And we literally could not see the hands in front of our faces. I couldn't see her. She couldn't see me. Pitch dark. So we asked the ghost box, I think it was Holly. I honestly can't remember. You'll know soon because the clip is coming. I'm pretty sure it was Holly. So let's say Holly asked the ghosts. And we had a ghost box going. And if you know what a ghost box is, the idea is it cycles through a whole bunch of radio frequencies and it spits words out. I only find that interesting. You have to place it in context. So if you're just sitting there, Stuart, I don't know what Stuart or whatever, but if the previous owner, if the ghost was allegedly named Stuart, and you are sitting there and you go, I want to speak to the ghost that haunts this place, or the person who lived here in 1894, and can you tell me your name? And Stuart, if that comes out, okay, now we've got something interesting. Context, the question asked, the answer that should be coming out, etc. So we discount a lot of stuff that comes out of the ghost box because context matters. Context is king. So Holly, we've been going on and on and on and on. And Holly asked, I think it was, what would you like us to do? Or what should we do? And it had been getting a little cantankerous too, because we were both feeling cold. We were getting the chills. A lot of stuff that usually happens to us when some paranormal things are about to happen. And what came out of the ghost box was so loud that they heard it downstairs. Not the sound guy. He heard it. The rest of them heard it downstairs, through the door to the stairwell, down the stairwell, around the corner in the room. They heard it. We sure as heck heard it in the attic. And, well, I've talked enough. I'm going to play that clip for you right. Hey, weasels in the truck. I always wondered weasels or monkeys or some animal in the truck. Monkeys in the truck, weasels in the truck, whoever's out there. Loyal crew members. Cue the clip up right now.
It just got really cold up here.
How can we help you?
Exit.
Whoa. Oh, okay, we're out. We're done.
Oh, sweet.
Lights are on. When somebody tells me to exit, you heard exit, right?
Yeah! I'm out!
No, finito.
Out!
Why are you still on that thing on?
Turn it off!
If I'm in a haunted location and an entity, a demon, a ghost, whatever it is, tells me to leave, exit, get out, I get out. I absolutely get out. I make no apologies for that. First of all, I think it makes for good television. Take that, Zach Baggins. And secondly, I think it's real. Like, I'm sorry if you were there, and maybe not you, Phil. You might stick, but for most people, I think you leave, and we took it seriously, so we left. Is that the scariest thing that's ever happened to me on Haunted? No, but it's one of them. So I thought I'd include it here, partly too because, again, it's so crisp and clear coming out, but also context is key. We had been feeling stuff, sensory kind of things, cold in particular, coming up, and it had spit out some words too that led us to believe that it might be a little aggressive, and so you get exit, out you go. So again, context. I don't think it was just a random word. Now, the next example I'm going to give you comes from, I think that was in the third season. I think that was the third season. The next one comes from the 8th season. And we went here in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, actually, where I grew up, to a place called Evergreen House. It's a museum now. I had previously gone to this museum for a show I was hosting at the time called Maritime Museums, which was about museums in the Maritime provinces. Because, remember, I think I mentioned I'm a lawyer and an historian by training and a filmmaker by vocation, television person by vocation. So, always wanted to go there. Why? Because Evergreen House contains exhibits dedicated to Helen Creighton. Helen Creighton, if you're a ghost hunter in Canada, I would hope if you're a ghost investigator anyway, but if you're interested in the paranormal, the supernatural, whatever, Helen Creighton is your go-to. She is your shining North Star. She put out a book many, many, many years ago of folk tales called Blue Nose Ghosts. So I wanted to go back and see if the house was haunted. And there were people that worked there that said, yeah, we think maybe it is. So to make a long story short, or less long than it was going to be, because I could just keep going, Holly and Kim Moser and I went to this location. We were the only three sort of investigators that were there. The crew was there as well. But we had a very small team. I think there were only 3 or 4 other people on the crew that night. And what happened there, not scary at all. So we're going to go from the scary stuff to, I think, just like really, really cool sort of stuff. And I'm going to get to it pretty quick because while that's happening, I'm going to go take a drink of water because my throat's starting to get dry. We went in there and we used multiple devices. We put Holly in one room, sitting in one room, talking, asking questions, while Kim was in a different room with the headphones on, listening to the ghost box. Sort of, Kim tells me it's called the Estes method. I assume a guy named Estes came up with this. She can't hear the questions that Holly and I, or even the conversations that Holly and I would be having. And we had a REM pod. And hopefully you folks know what a REM pod is, but long and short of it is, if you put it right here, you walk by it, the lights are going to go off if you interact with it. So would any one of those things on its own lead me to believe that I was dealing with Helen Creighton that night? No. Although maybe, if it really got weird. But you put those 3 things all in play at the same time, because I'm smart. I've learned a few tricks over the years. Take that, Zach Baggins. And then put 3 people in, Holly and Kim and I, and have that kind of, what do you call it, like the good, the bad, and the ugly, sort of the Mexican 3-way duel or whatever they had at the end of the film. I'm pretty sure that I'm the ugly. Wait, maybe I'm the bad. I don't want to say Kim or Holly are the ugly. So it's the good, and the bad. Kim's good, Holly's good, I'm bad. There you go. And yeah, I'm just going to let this roll. It takes a couple of minutes, but there's no big super moment. It's just kind of that back and forth, folks. And a bit of a punchline at the end as a question or something Holly asked the spirit to do circles back. But it is important. I'll set this up again. Helen Creighton, Blue Nose Ghosts, the sort of shining northern star for all of us. And the house had also been owned by a lawyer. So that comes into play as well. So to the weasels, the marmosets, the monkeys, the orangutans, whatever's out there in the truck, the small furry rabbits, because there's rabbits all around my house here. Yeah, let's go with the rabbits. Hey, rabbit number 4, Hazel Raw. Cue up the footage and, as Steve Winwood would say, roll with it.
Who am I speaking with? Oh my God, the REM pod just went off. Is there somebody in the chair I guess, in front of me? Hello? Hi, has it been doing that?
Nope.
What the?
Filming.
Yeah, we are filming this. Can you tell Kim your name?
Spirit.
Wow. Okay, so you can see that you are causing that to go off?
Spirits.
Can you make the green light come on and stay on?
I thought I heard Paul again.
Are you by Paul? Is that why you keep saying his name?
Got a yes on the Ovilus.
Do you remember Paul? He's waving.
Arm.
So, just so that everybody understands, Paul was waving when it said arm.
Oh, I just got chills.
Are you trying to communicate to us with this REM pod? Hi, my name's Holly. What's yours?
Stevens.
Stevens.
All right, this is my favorite place so far. This is awesome.
Got a yes on the Ovilus.
Who are we speaking with? Can we have your name? Did you used to live here?
Flaw or law?
Oh my God. James.
Hello.
Hi, James. That's the gentleman who used to live here with his wife before Helen was
Got a
here.
yes on the Ovilus.
And your backup, Paul, is actually right to where he had his law office.
So Helen, if we were talking to you, I'm an historian. James, if we're talking to you, I'm a lawyer too. So 2 for 1. I'm now in
Got a
your
yes
old law
on the
office,
Ovilus.
James, which is an exhibit to Helen Creighton. Maybe we're getting 2 for the price of 1.
Safe.
Yes, I think we all feel safe here tonight.
Yes.
Why?
On the
Yes.
Ovilus.
Because we're here with Helen.
All right, there you go, folks. We're back. Helen Creighton. I mean, I never left, and I suppose you probably didn't either, but we're all back together. And Helen Creighton, the James, I can't remember what his last name is off the top of my head, but the lawyer that was there, sort of an emotional moment for Holly and me and Kim. Kim, because she's really into the ghost stuff. Even before she came to me, I think during the 5th season, and kind of asked if, she could be on the show, basically. And so I chatted her up, and we got to know each other. And I said, "Yeah, sure, you sound like you'd be a real asset." And she was for the 5 seasons she was on it. She has a podcast called Booze and Bourbon, which you might want to check out. Booze, Boos, and Bourbon. So it's about whiskey and ghosts, I think. And she was. We're all big fans, Holly and me too, especially of Helen Creighton. So the idea that we might have actually been talking to the spirit of Helen Creighton or interacting with her, as well as the guy, James, the lawyer that used to be there. Yeah, that was kind of a good night. That we all walked out of that night, big smiles on our faces too, because there was no downside. There was no dark, forces interacting with us that night. It was actually all pretty pleasant. Those are the kinds of nights that I like. That's me crossing my legs again. So when you get to be my age, folks, sometimes you actually have to pull it up as opposed to just crossing them normally. So the next one I'm going to show you really quickly, the story on that is it's the Glace Bay Miners Museum, which is in northern Cape Breton. It's coal mining country, a very dangerous way to earn a living, a very, very long and sordid history of mining in Nova Scotia, as there is probably everywhere else, including, the company raping and pillaging, and economically, of course, the people that worked for them, basically keeping them in indentured servitude, really, which is something I explored when I did the museum show, because I also did the Miners Museum for the museum show, and the stories that the guides were telling me about the company store and everything. Ooh. So when you go back to maybe interact with the people that actually worked the mine or lived there in the Glace Bay, Dominion, New Waterford area, yeah, those would have been hard lives. And done with the idea of creating a better world for their children. So when I went to university at Acadia University up here in Nova Scotia, I knew and was good friends with a bunch of guys who came from that region. Turns out one of them, Sheldon Guthrow, we used to call him Gut, his father was the guy, he was a miner, and he's the guy who gave me the tour for the Maritime Museum show. So, and what Sheldon's father, who was also named Sheldon, would tell me is, I didn't go to college or anything. I did this so that my children could have a better life. And, then the Sheldon I knew went off to college. So those kinds of stories, that kind of history informs and underlies everything when you go into Ghost Investigate. So you want to know something about, if not the particular story, and I actually kind of try and avoid that because I don't want to color my perceptions, but I at least like to know the history of the place I'm going to and the surrounding area, because it gives me a better idea of maybe what we're in for. So in this case, you can take a tour down into an old mine. They've sort of, I don't think it's a decommissioned mine, but they've drilled down what a mine would have been like. So you go right out under the ocean, I think 1,000 feet under the ocean or something like that. And you can go through it, you cramp down like this, sort of thing. I might, at this point, as you're listening to me, I might be showing you footage from the Maritime Museums episode that shows me walking through the mine during that episode that I filmed with my friend Sheldon's father. So when we went to the Miners Museum, you have to do the ghost show, you have to go way down this very long path that descends down. It's not a path, it's a tunnel that they've carved out. When you get to the bottom of it, off you go into the mine. And the idea is the miners would have gone down that. There's a sort of a replica of a miner's cart that they whoosh, down you go, like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. We did do a tour of the mine, but we were not allowed to go down into the mine while we were ghost investigating because the guides had gone and it was unsafe. So what we could do, though, was be at the top of that platform that went down and see if we could make contact with the spirits of the miners. And we were in other locations too within the museum, but some of the outbuildings, they have a company store and a house and that sort of stuff. So we were investigating all of it. And I left Holly, my dear, dear friend Holly, at the top of the mine shaft all alone, and we all went somewhere else. And so, well, here you go. I did it myself. It is one of the scariest places you could be because there's a bit of sensory deprivation. There's the echoes. There's just water dripping. So you have to take these things into account too, that they can all play tricks on your mind. So if you just hear drip, 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 that's not a ghost. But if you hear something like somebody's walking, like quick, quick, quick footsteps, well, maybe that is. So these are the kinds of things you have to sort of take account of. So I'm going to show you this. I don't think this clip, in fact, I'm sure this clip has never been seen outside of Canada, where it airs on Eastlake Community TV. So if you're anywhere other than Canada, you've never seen this before. And is it the scariest thing that's ever happened? No. Is it freaky? Yes. Was Holly freaked out? Absolutely she was. I know, because I was the first one to run into her after this went down. And she was really sort of put out of sorts. But it sort of, in hindsight, doesn't seem threatening. It seems maybe more playful. I always like those ghosts better. So here we go. The rabbits, right? Of course, we're going with rabbits or hares, snowshoe hares in the truck. Cue the footage up. That's the sound of queuing, folks. And hit it.
Hello? Hello?
I mean, it's underground, so there's obviously a lot of dripping or damage of water. Kind of hearing the sound drips of water dripping, but every once in a while, it sounds like somebody's stepping in my dirt.
Hello? Can you come closer? Whoa.
My battery just died. Seems to be working again.
Are you interfering with this camera?
Holy crap.
Okay, so we're back, and that was the Glace Bay Miners Museum in Northern Cape Breton, and that was Holly having her light go out not once, but twice. And the battery not drained the first time. So you can see the battery's still good, but something turned that light off. That didn't happen to that light any other times that I can recall, certainly not when we were at the Miners Museum. So it was anomalous. But also, a lot of other stuff was going on around us at that same time in other locations. So I can't get into the full context for you because Ryan only gave me 45 minutes and I've almost worn out my welcome. No, I'm thankful for every second that Ryan gave me. Thanks, Ryan. Great job, by the way. Bravo. Yay. You know, the Anomicon, wonderful thing. I've run paranormal conferences myself in the past. In fact, that's sort of how I met Ryan. I brought him up to speak at one called the Esotericon, but I also had some friends who were running something called the East Coast Paraconference come up with what I think was maybe the best speaker lineup of all time. Of course, I was one of them. But Greg Bishop, Micah Hanks, Ryan Sprague, Shag Harbor researcher Chris Stiles was there as well. So a great time was had by all of us. That was in Liverpool, Nova Scotia. So Ryan, great guy. And thank you again for organizing the Anomicon. Hope everybody's enjoying it as much as I am. So the next one, I got two more. For you. I could get into Ghost Nazis. I could, because it's freaky. I'm tempted to do the Ghost Nazis thing. It doesn't make me look good. Wait, I have to do it now because just leaving that out there, people go, is Paul a Nazi? Hold on now. Wait, why would it not make him look good? All right, I'm going to do the Ghost Nazis thing. So we're at the Western County's Military Museum, which is on the south shore of Nova Scotia, not all that far from Yarmouth. And, it's a small museum, a very old building that it's in, across the road from a very, very old Protestant Congregationalist meeting house, which is a museum now, that is supposedly very, very haunted. And there's an old carding mill. I think it's a carding mill just around the corner that's also haunted. So I kind of call it Haunted Corner. The military museum had an exhibit that contained Nazi war memorabilia. So I see this Nazi memorabilia. So it's only a little bit. It was brought back by Canadian soldiers who fought in the Second World War. And in hindsight, it seems like a bad idea. I admit it. I called out any Nazis that might have been associated with the memorabilia. And I swear, folks, I really did. I wanted to, this is my chance. This is Paul's Nuremberg trials. I'm going to be Telford Taylor or one of the other prosecutors, or Robert Jackson. I'm going to grill somebody about the war crimes they committed or terrible stuff that they did. Or maybe it was just a normal, average German soldier. And I could grill him on that too. Like, why didn't you desert? Why were you fighting for, Hitler and all that stuff? Terrible. That's what was going through my mind, I think. But the other part, remember, Ghost Rogue. I said, boom, open a door, whatever. So, yeah, careful what you open a door for, folks. That applies to Ouija boards in particular, but definitely applies to Nazis. So I opened a door. I'll show you a little bit of me opening the door. And then all sorts of strange things start to happen to other people, not to me, including when I come out of the opening the door to the Ghost Nazis. Holly's asking me, were you upstairs? And I went, no, I was over in the other room. And Holly had said, well, no, there were these footsteps upstairs. It almost sounded like heavy boots. And so I mimicked a goose step. And I said, did it sound like this? And both her and Dylan went, yes. And then Holly looks at me and she goes, what did you do? And she knew. And so I told them and they were just like, what have you, idiot? Anyway, we continue the investigation. We wind up having a ghost box session. And remember what I said about Dylan was just there as the director of photography. At this point, he'd sort of been dragged in a little bit, but he wasn't kind of a full-fledged investigator yet. He was the camera guy who would get dragged in. This was the first time we really threw him into the investigation, made him part of the show. So I think you can see me using the camera. I'm not just a pretty face, folks. I know how this stuff works. And they're doing the ghost box thing. And well, I'm just, rabbits, roll it. Just roll it. Context is king, folks. Remember that. Just roll it. And here's what happens when you call out Nazis.
What is it doing now? Okay, I'm gonna press buttons here just to show it wasn't me. This doesn't do anything. This just resets the temperature, but nothing would change. These are volume knobs. These are reverse and forward, which wouldn't touch anything. It's a sweep rate, so that should not be stopping.
That shouldn't do that. 5 and 3. Only one of these lights here and over here should be lit up. Or 2 at the very most on one side and then the other, depending on if both of these are on the same channel. Like if both of these are set to FM, there'll be 2 different lights lit up over here according to what the sweep rate is for that FM channel. There's no reason why 5, sweep rates and 3 sweep rates on both AM and FM would be lit up.
So the only one that's
53 mean anything to you? I can see your face is really weird, Paul. What's up? Mean something to you?
Well, if you add 5 and 3 together, what do you get?
8.
Right. Uh-oh. 8, 8.
We're recording. That was Morse code.
That was Morse code.
Was somebody trying to communicate with us because of 8, 8?
Oh my God, I know where you're going.
What?
I know exactly where you're going.
What? Why 8? Oh.
What's the 8th letter of the alphabet, Holly? Count it out.
Brain's frozen.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H.
Okay.
8 is a neo-Nazi code word for Heil Hitler. They would say
Temperature dropping, pressure.
88. Heil Hitler.
Why is my hand up?
How did you just have your hand up?
What the hell?
Terrified, terrified, terrified.
Did you just make an involuntary... I'm not even going to go there, but...
No, I don't know what I was doing.
8, 8. 8, 8. Eight, eight. Eight, eight.
I'll leave you with this. And by the way, I've had a lot of fun. So my motto, which we employ, I have 2 of them, which I employ on all of my ghost investigating adventures, but also I did in the UFO world too. 1, don't believe, don't disbelieve, think. Best piece of advice I can give you, except for the second piece of advice that I can give you, which we're going to have put on t-shirts at some point. Ghosts good, demons bad. And yeah, demons bad, demons very bad. So there's my old college radio segue from demons to Zach Baggins, who is like, I am the broski super demon hunter. Look at me. Oh, take that, demons. We're here today at the demon infested. Yeah, that's what he does. Man takes himself way too seriously. You can take your work seriously. You should never take yourself seriously. That's my third piece of advice. So we remember the captain's house where Holly and I were in the stairwell. It's like, ooh, exit. We fled. Well, Dylan and I went up to the attic and we were kind of just playing around. I was trying to draw a protective circle with chalk. I don't know what I'm doing, but I just thought, I've seen it in movies. Maybe this chalk circle will protect me from demons or whatever. And we hauled out the ghost box, and I was being a bit cheeky, and I just, hey, ghost box, who do you like better, me or my arch enemy, Zach Baggins? Now, if you're in Yarmouth, Nova Scotia, with only a couple of radio stations to pull from, and assorted CB guys and stuff out on their boats and things, there's a word that probably shouldn't come up. It's pretty rare, and context is king, remember, and that word is Baggins. So I figured I was on pretty solid ground that the spirit in that house or the demon or whatever was there, if it was going to pick anyone, it would say like you, meaning me. Or maybe it would say him. But who's going to vote for Zach Baggins? Boo, down vote. Oh, down vote. Or maybe it would say Paul. I don't know. Well, here's what it said. Rabbits in the truck. Yeah. Cue the footage.
Do you like us better than Zach Baggins? Did that say Baggins?
I honest to God thought it did.
I said Baggins. Tabor and I concur. That said Baggins.
Oh.
That's a terrible way to wrap this talk up. Trying to think of something pithy to say. Ryan, help me out. No, I got nothing. Thanks. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for putting up with me, folks. I do like to pop around. I'm sort of a moving target. It's been fun talking to you, of course, but the last 10 seasons of doing Haunted has been a lot of fun for me. I like the people I work with too, which is important, but I like the spirit of adventure and investigating and just keeping an open mind, going into these places, seeing if we can experience stuff. And the one thing that I've always tried to make sure to do is that the places we go are generally open to the public. There's been one or two private places that we've went to, but over 10 seasons, they're almost always places that you could go to as well if you're in the Maritime provinces. So could you go to the Western Counties Military Museum and see the very same Nazi artifacts, that Second World War artifacts that I did? Yes. Piece of advice: if you do that, don't call out any ghost Nazis. It doesn't end well. So you could go to all these places and all the other places that we've been to. You could go to places near where you are too. Holly and I traveled to San Diego once many years ago. We went to Whaley House, which is supposedly one of the most haunted places on the earth. Nothing happened while Holly and I was there, but I went years later with my wife, and something did happen to me while I was there because as I said to Linda, I'm going to open myself up to this, Linda. And Linda went, I'm out of here. I've seen your show. I know what happens when you do this. So don't send anything to me. I'll be in the next room over. And, some stuff happened to me. Nothing major, but, feeling some chills and some breezes and things like that. And if I'd stayed there longer, and maybe if I'd really dug down into it, that's how it starts. That's how you open the door. So the last thing that I would say to you, besides again stressing ghosts good, demons bad, and never call out ghost Nazis, is go do this yourself. Don't take my word for it. Definitely don't take Zach Baggins' word for it. Don't take anybody's word for it. These are our experiences. We can show you what those experiences are. We can show you what those experiences are. The editor and me should probably go fix that, but I'm too tired. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave that in. So you can see what happened to us. Now go see if you can make it happen to you, if you can make contact. And I think at the end of the day, that's why now I'm much more interested in ghosts than I am UFOs. Still keep an eye on the UFO stuff. But unless you believe Stephen Greer, I can't vector UFOs down. I don't think. But I can go to all these haunted locations and I can see if I can make contact and hopefully get some answers to that question that I mentioned near the very beginning of this very long-winded chat, which is, what's out there beyond the gray wall for us? Or, as the immortal pop poet Brian Ferry would ask, is there more than this? The answer I've come up with over all these years of looking into it, yeah, I think there is. And that's a positive thing. That is a terrible ending. Anyway, put that on a greeting card, folks. Yeah, and that's a positive thing. Little smiling cat with holding its paw up going, yeah, you can do it too. There you go. So there you go. You can do it too. Thanks again. Thanks so much, Ryan, for putting this on. Thanks to everybody else who's been here for the Anomicon speaking. And thanks most of all to you folks for putting up with me and listening in. Toodaloo, as we say in Nova Scotia. We don't say that at all. So bye. All right. Rabbits in the truck. Cut the footage. Oh my God, I'm still here. Some things you just have to do yourself.